gaming really started off gaming. X-Men Apocalypse on the Super Nintendo really got me into like to gaming. And while I was playing that, at the same time, my cousins would be right beside me on the other TV or in the other room playing Street Fighter Alpha, and Alpha 2, and of course just seeing like the supers and stuff on that game. It pulls you in. It intrigued me. It was just like, man, this man just did like a super, the whole screen flashed, and then next thing you know, he threw like flaming plasma at this dude face. Like, so I definitely got to see what that's about, and what's up with that cool character that just rises into the air and his fist turns into a flame. Like, I got to be able to do that. I need to learn how to do that. Like, somebody go teach me how to do that. Like, X-Men Apocalypse, cool, but I ain't doing that. So, that basically got me to a point to where I was just like, I got to figure out what's going on. So that was really my first fighting game. And it's crazy, a lot of people have Street Fighter as like their game that was like their introduction into the fighting games. But I mean, it's Street Fighter. I mean, it's just most people are gonna have that story that Street Fighter was that thing because it was just such a huge game. I mean, it's Street Fighter. I mean, nobody really had to tell you that. But yeah, Street Fighter was my first one. For some people, it's not as cool as saying, "Man, of course, your favorite one was Street Fighter. Mine was Guilty Gear." I played real games. You was just on that popular way like everybody else. Man, it don't matter. Look, Street Fighter is cool. But really what got me into the FGC was when I got to college. And then I actually went to the fighting game club, and I, ran across people that I was like, yeah, man, I'm tough stuff. I've been playing, beating everybody in my hometown. Went in there, and then next thing you know, I got like the golden letters, multiple times in a row, and I'm like, I'm not who I thought I was. I'm a fraud. And of course, the man who's chuckling right now, it's a reason why he's chuckling, because he know the things that he's done, which I've never recovered from. So yeah, so that's what really got me into the FGC, was actually going into the fighting game club, and then hearing people talking about like, yeah, I'm finna travel to CEO, or I'm finna travel to this event or that event, or I'm gonna watch this on Twitch. And I'm like, what are y'all talking about? What is even a Twitch? So that was kind of like my introduction. And then once I saw like, KOF 13, Street Fighter 4, I was hooked. So that was my introduction to the FGC. So what about you, Mr. Gamer?
So I mean, really, just if I go back to start it off, the same thing. Like my brother, Street Fighter 2. Early on, going to arcades and getting kind of like that, just the vibe of arcades, like seeing people playing against each other. My brother was always usually competitive in games, or I say like he was always try to get like pretty decent in like games, and that just kind of trickled down to me. Marvel 2 on Dreamcast, we would always play it together. We would play fighting games together a lot. So I kind of just had that like competitive thing going with my brother. And then as I got older, I'm like, I kind of want to, let's see if I can do this with other people. So like the year I graduated high school, Street Fighter 4 came out, and that's really what, like, I mean, that's just the answer. Street Fighter 4 is what like solidified my introduction, like legit into the FGC, because that's when I started learning about like competitive events, watching stuff on Twitch, YouTube, whatever. And that's like the first time I actually like, I want to get better. I want to keep getting better. I want to learn these fighting games at a decent level, and compete and play against people online. And also online was a part of it too, because now you can play against people outside of your normal group. Yeah, and that's like the first time, I think around the time I saw competitive Alpha 3, like going back and find those videos for Alex Valle versus Daigo, going back and finding MVC2 videos of all these players like that like, and seeing how crazy that scene was, how crazy competitive it was. And after I saw all this stuff, I just got hooked, and I just kept playing fighting games, and of course going to college, playing against other people, and it just like, it just
Destroying
kept,
other people.
I guess if you want to say that, it just kept feeding into it, and then into college, I started going to events. Like in Mississippi, they had like a few events that are like regional events, and I was like, man, that's kind of what all solidified and just added up to like, man, I love the FGC, and the competitiveness is just dope to me. So yeah, but it all started with my brother getting me into like Street Fighter 2. That's the earliest fight game I can remember, and just us fighting and playing against each other just started that fire, you know.
All right, E. Everybody's waiting to hear about your millionaire excursion that you went on, that you somehow stumbled across the arcade with fighting games in it when you took a break from your $1 million vacation.
He bought an arcade.
Well, I don't know about all that, but when I was a kid, I didn't really get to play video games a whole lot. Um, and I mean, like there's this lady that used to take care of me and my brothers. Well, mostly she was taking care of my sister, but we were just kind of like, kind of we're just a package deal at that point. And they had a Street Fighter 2, and we played that a little bit back then. But I was kind of like, oh, this is cool, this is all right. But I think when I really started getting interested in fighting games was when my mom, she bought like a PlayStation, and then she bought one onto eBay and bought like a whole bunch of PlayStation games for really cheap. And one of the games was Tekken 2, and it was pretty much a done deal at that point, man. Me and my bros went crazy over that game. So we went crazy over that game, but then like the game that we got after that was Street Fighter Alpha 3, and the rest is like we were just like, oh man, fighting games, man, fighting games are the wave, bro. But as far as
Good
like the
times.
FGC is concerned, I think I would consider like when I got involved in the FGC was back in probably 2007, 2008, when I was in college. I went to New Jersey. I went to Teaneck, New Jersey, up at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and one of my buddies, he goes by the name Chuck the Landslide, and he was like, "Oh, you want to go to this?" Like we would play Soul Calibur 4 like a bunch, like in the dorm, and we would he was like, "Oh, you want to come to this tournament with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So we went to this tournament, and it was kind of like there are some people that I guess like that were kind of known at that time. Like I guess was Jaxel, and Kowtow Robinson was there and stuff like that. I mean, if you go look back, you maybe not, you might find a match video of me getting bodied as Nightmare in Soul Calibur 4, because I was like, I didn't really have a character at that point. I was just switching between like Zasalamel and Nightmare. I was just kind of doing whatever, but it was quite a good time, man. And I think that was like my time when I'm like, okay, like I like this. I like going to tournaments. I like being amongst the people. I think that was when I like really decided I was going to be part of the FGC.